Alabama is playing Georgia in the regular season. Do we know how rare this is? This is the SEC for, I believe they played one time in 10 years in the regular season, because the SEC is not stupid. They know where their bread is buttered, and they know that when Alabama and Georgia are the top programs in their conference, hey, you know what we shouldn't do? Have them play in the regular season. You know what we should do? Have them play in the championship game where we can make all the money. I believe the only time they played each other in the regular season in the last 10 years was during the 20 week. Remember when Nick Saban, the week of Georgia, tested positive for COVID, and everybody thought, oh, my goodness gracious, Nick Saban's not going to be able to coach the Georgia game. 2 days later, false positive. It was a false positive. Now, there were
that wasn't rat poison, was that was before that, or that was after that, right?
Well, rat poison has been going on for a long time.
Okay, so that was pre-COVID, though.
Nick Saban always said rat poison was the media pumping up his team.
I just couldn't remember if that was like 2019.
That's what he called it. He's been doing the rat poison thing back in 2009.
Okay.
Back in 2009, he's been doing that rat poison thing because it drives him crazy, or drove him crazy. Now he's just hanging out with McAfee right? on game day, and he's having a grand old time in retirement.
Probably like, have fun with that stress, Kalen. My heart rate and blood pressure is way down.
He's living his best life. Now,
I mean, and if
do you think he ever gets the itch again? Do you think so, like you've said you believe Belichick will go back to the NFL? Belichick's doing media right now. He's on every commercial. It seems he's on like the Travis Kelce commercial. Like, well, you mean this grumpy Gus who we watched mumble through press conferences for 20 plus years? This guy is now a media darling. He's
funny.
He's on the Manning Cast. He's on another ESPN show, I think. He does commercials, and it's like, but you believe, and I do as well, he's going to coach somewhere else. He interviewed with a handful of teams in the offseason. He'll go coach somewhere else.
I saw yesterday, Jaguars could already be looking to get rid of Doug Peterson. He would fit right in with Trevor Lawrence. I heard that is really going to be picking up steam in the offseason.
You know, they talk about it in politics. When you start running for president, and obviously we are about to be bombarded with all of that.
Yeah, get ready for the next month, folks. It's going to be rough. I'll say that.
I got 2 leaflets yesterday. I'm not going to say who the candidates were, but I got 2 leaflets, and one was you can't trust this person, and one is this person is so trustworthy. Same person, 2 leaflets in my mailbox yesterday.
That's classic.
Which one do I believe? Like, do these people realize when they do that it cancels each other out, and I stop caring? Anyways,
no.
The point was, like, when you talk about running for president, it gets earlier and earlier and earlier. And I was watching an old episode of The West Wing, and it was like, boy, it just keeps getting earlier. Firing coaches. It used to be a gentleman's agreement that, you know what, you let them get to Christmas. Well, actually, believe it or not, it used to be the Black Monday after the final regular season game, and coaches would get fired. Then I believe there was you know what, let's let them get to Christmas. And then after Christmas, we'll fire him. They're already measuring Doug Peterson's office down in Jacksonville for furniture. They're like, would Bill Belichick, he's got this couch. Would it fit in? I know the Cowboys won last night. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but didn't look all that great doing it. That being said, the Giants stink. Brian Daboll's office they're probably measuring that. Man, it just gets earlier. It's not October yet. And Daboll and Doug Peterson and who else is up on the Well, McCarthy's always, anybody who's the head coach of the Cowboys is always going to be in that discussion. Zach Taylor, I already heard rumblings about him. Like, man, it gets earlier and earlier. It's September.
And on that point, Justin, because we talked about Belichick, the next name is I think Nick Saban is going to the itch could be there, but I think he's going to kind of just walk into the sunset.
You think he ever wants to coach college football again?
I think he would want...
Too much NIL stuff?
Yeah, I think he would want to, objectively, if he could be like, yeah, give me 2005, but,
But that's never going to happen.
Exactly. Now, here's one
I think of, like, Mac Brown. And, like, do you think, like, Mac Brown was in the
He
meat
was.
grinder at Texas, which was if you don't win the national title and if you don't beat Oklahoma, you are trash. And he did it. And then it got to the point where he didn't do it every single year. And that meat grinder at Texas will chew you up and it will spit you out. And then he took a couple years off and was hanging out on TV. And then he's got the night he had, I don't know how long he's going to be at North Carolina, but he's got it's like, I just like coaching the guys at North Carolina. All they want to do is go to the Final Four in basketball. Nobody cares about me. I don't know if Saban's wired that way, but I wonder,
that is interesting.
I wonder if, if there is a job where they don't care about NIL and you can actually just go back and coach football. If Saban goes yeah, I'd kind of like to do that again.
There could be something there. The other name I'm curious, Justin, especially in the NFL, short term, right? Talk about someone who's built to win now, like the Bengals, like I thought the Jaguars maybe were.
Are the Bengals built to win now?
Just we'll get to that in just a second, but real quick. Are we 100% sure no one would give Pete Carroll a call?
Oh, I know.
I don't believe Pete's done. That's my hot take.
Here's the difference, though, between Pete Carroll and
I think Pete's got some fire.
And Bill Belichick. I agree with you. But I think Pete's a smidge older than Belichick.
Just looked 6 months.
Okay.
172, 173. So
I
close
would
enough.
say that counts as a smidge. What is a smidge? Well, it turns out in this case 6 months. All right, so not as much older as I thought.
It's close. They're both in their early 70s.
The fact that Belichick is out there, right? He's staying in football. And I know Pete Carroll's at USC, and he's doing he's working with their program a little bit, and his kid's up at Washington, working with Jed Fish's program. They got an interesting game tonight.
Technically a senior advisor to the Seahawks, Justin. How much senior advising is he doing up there?
He is doing enough to get a paycheck from the Seahawks as they're going to continue to. It's not a buyout. He's still an employee. So he's probably getting a nice fat paycheck from the Seahawks, which I
want
blame
that
him.
cushy job.
Get your money. Well, you got to win a Super Bowl, Brendan. That's the first thing you got to do. That's the tough part.
It is. Yes, it
they always
is.
talk being a fired coach. You got to be the best. Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to win a big game, and then you get hired.
We talked about Ed
Charlie Weiss used to rob money from both Notre Dame and from Kansas. He did win a Super Bowl with Tom Brady as a coordinator. That's the hard part. Ed Orgeron got paid a bunch of money. He didn't win a national title. You got to win the big one first.
No, he won one.
So I'm saying he did.
Oh, yeah, because...
he won a national title, and then you get your buyout.
Okay, so that's why Jimbo Fisher was given $1 trillion, basically.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yes.
So you win one title, and then you could just get a guaranteed contract to just shut it down.
The best. It's the best life. Gene Chizik did the same thing.
He did.
Gene Chizik beat my beloved Oregon Ducks. I was there. I was at the game.
He's like, this Gus Malzahn guy? Yeah, he can run my stuff.
Fine. I'll go away. How much you going to pay me?
A lot? Okay, cool. I'm out.
Oregon's still paying Mark Helfrich.
That's got to be off the books by now.
I don't think so. I think
That's 8 years. I mean,
I thought it was a 10-year
oh my goodness.
deal, which again, tip of the cap to old Coach Helfrich, because I think it was. Now I could be talking completely out of my backside, which I've been known to do from time to time. All right, we got some more football I want to dive into. Sean Hyken's going to join us. We're going to talk about the Blazers broadcast, and if we've learned anything new, the nitty gritty in the last couple of days. So we're going to dive in to that. Yeah, we got to do some realignment talk at some point.
Who's joining the pack, Justin? We got to give out the roses.
We got to give out the roses again. But I do want to talk more actual football that is actually going to be played. So we may be doing some Pac-12 stuff when we go on campus and other things that we dive into. But we haven't done this in too long, and it is a shame on me because I get to chatting, I get to yammering, and I forget that on a Friday, and especially on a Friday, it's a little gloomy outside, a little rainy outside. It is a time to celebrate the end of the week, and we do that. Whether we open it up or not, we still have our delicious upgraded caffeinated beverage. We call them Fancy Coffees. It's time to open up Fancy Coffee Friday. Here we go. That is right. It is Fancy Coffee Friday. Cheers to all of you, the hardest working audience in all of Sports Talk Radio. And how do I know that? Vibes. I know it with my gut. And whether you are out there working construction in the rain, or you are headed off to the cubicle to be smiling and dialing and stacking paper and making deals, whatever you are doing, cheers to all of you. We appreciate you for spending just a smidge of your time with us because we could not do any of this without any of you. So whether or not you want to just go to your convenience store, get out of that huddle of coffee, and maybe throw in a couple of French vanilla creamers, and that's your fancy coffee. You do you. Or if you want to go to the snootiest barista in Portland to make your multiple-minute pour-over imported from some country you've never heard of, if that's your fancy coffee, then you do you. So cheers to all of you. Cheers to you, Brendan. Let's have a day, shall we? Happy Fancy Coffee Friday, everybody. Oh, that tastes so good. So good. We have got football to discuss, full slate of NFL and college football games, and we'll talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, it is a feel-good Friday. It is a fancy coffee Friday. We just did that last segment. But more importantly, it's the month of September, heading into the month of October next week, which means, oh, yeah, it is a football Friday, and Oregon is going to be heading on the road to face UCLA. Oregon, 25.5-point favorites. The game
They're in L.A., you know.
That's in L.A. That's where the game is going to be played. I talked about this a little bit with Tyson on Wednesday, and I also continued our discussion on the I-5 Corridor podcast, if you want to check that out. You can also check out the Beaver's Edge podcast if that's your thing, too. I've appeared on both. I've heard the numbers, huge numbers. They call it the Myers bump. It's when Myers shows up on the podcast, numbers through the roof. I haven't seen them, but that's just what I'm hearing. People are saying
However, both times we've had you on, it's been an Oregon blowout afterwards. So that's probably going to.
You think I'm responsible for that?
I think there's some juju.
I'd like to be.
There's some juju.
I'd like to be.
There's some juju. So we might. I don't know. You might take.
You don't think
we might take a gap year next year, Justin?
You don't think the majority of Beaver fans, like hardcore Oregon State fans, that like. Because to follow Beaver's Edge, you have got to be all in, like into recruiting and depth charts and practice reports and all that stuff. You don't think those 100% Beaver believers, you don't think they appreciate you bringing on your one Duck Homer friend right before the big rivalry game? I don't know.
Good question.
I don't know if they appreciate it or not.
Well, there's some
Beavs fans pretend to hate me. They don't. They love me.
They've
loved me for years.
As you know, there's a lot of issues at play, Justin. A lot of fans, maybe don't want to play the game either. So, there's several different issues.
It was interesting.
But neither here nor there.
I understand all the reasons. We went over it obviously a week and a half ago, but I understand all the reasons. And I said we were going to do conference realignment right now, but if the Pac-12 only gets to 8 teams and you can only have a 7-game schedule, Cougs and the Beavs are both going to have to keep Apple Cup and Civil War on their schedule, aren't they? You're going to have to keep that contract there just for strength of schedule purposes.
I don't want to say have to,
but
it's probably likely.
But if you keep that,
but you can schedule 5 games. That's not impossible.
But I'm saying you can almost create like another conference game.
Sure.
And it's going to be a big it's interesting, though, because on the other side up there in Seattle, it's the Huskies that never want to play this game again. And it's like, why would we play it in Lumen Field? Why wouldn't we play it in Husky Stadium? It's like you're supposed to play it in Martin Stadium. They gave you an absolute break. You still couldn't win the game. But anyways, Huskies face off against Rutgers tonight. We'll talk about that one in a moment. But let's talk about UCLA. I mentioned again, it's odd that in a season where I was doing a show from Lucas Oil Stadium, a month and a half ago at Big Ten Media Day. Boy, was it! But we were doing a show there with Big Ten Media, and it's like we're 4 games into the season, week 5 of the schedule, and Oregon has played 2 teams from Idaho, a road trip on a bus to Corvallis, and their first now true road game getting on a plane. They're going to L.A. to face UCLA. Now, again, this shall all change because they will be going to Purdue in October. They will be going in November to Michigan and to Wisconsin. Those things are going to happen, but it's still the Big Ten stuff really hasn't quite hit in for Oregon. And now here's UCLA, kind of the lost team in all of this. Washington knew that replacing Kalen DeBoer and replacing a lot of players that departed and coming off of a season where you had 2 top 10 picks was obviously Odunze. Was he a top 10 pick? He's like 7, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So you had 2 between your quarterback and your best receiver, and then your head coach goes to Alabama. Like, Washington knew that it was going to be
9.
It was 9. See,
Penix took 7. He went 9. So yes, you're right. 2 top 10s.
Those 2 will give me nightmares. Those
He's
2,
so good.
Those 2 will give me nightmares. until
all three.
Oregon actually gets to the playoff and wins a national championship.
I called it
Michael Penix and Rome Odunze will give me nightmares.
That's fair, Justin, but I called it the holy trinity of receiving because it was Jalen McMillan, who's been a dude for the Buccaneers already.
Mm-hmm.
And
same with Bucky Irving, by the way.
Yeah, and it's true. Bucky Irving's going to be the starting running back in Tampa Bay, just to mark my words.
Oregon and Washington games, because I've been, Oregon-Washington rivalry I've been following my entire life. Obviously, it wasn't a rivalry until 1994. It was a hammer and a nail before that. Oregon just get hammered over and over again. And then in 1994, obviously, Kenny Wheaton's going to score. And then they backed it up with a win the next year. And then Washington went on probation. And then that's when and then here came Rick Neuheisel. And that's when the rivalry really became a thing. Didn't really become a thing until like the early 2000s. It was like we didn't like them, but it wasn't a rivalry because the nail is not a rival of the hammer. Okay. But in this Oregon-Washington rivalry, there was a good chunk where Washington stunk. And then they came back, and Chris Peterson was trying to get 12 years of stinking back in one game, and he nearly did. He put up 70 points at Autzen Stadium against just an outgunned Oregon team. And then it got a little feisty and a little spicy when Mario Cristobal got caught on a hot mic saying there's not one good thing about them, and he threw in some expletives. But the last 2 years, when you think about like the players in that game, in Bo Nix and Troy Franklin and Bucky Irving, all of whom are in the NFL, and all of whom, like Bucky Irving, is he leading rookie running back? I think he is. At least he was last week. And then on the other side, Odunze, Michael Penix, McMillan, like the amount.
So technically, yes, Justin.
Technically, yes.
But Jaden Daniels is all rookies, technically, with rushing yards. So there's an X to your spot. And how about this? Bo Nix, number 3 in rookie rushing yards.
Rookie rushing yards.
So it's like Bucky Irving, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and like nobody else.
Dude.
Kind of funny.
But it's just, isn't that crazy when you think about that rivalry and just how good, and the fact that you had, I think, 9 points? 9 points in 3 games was the difference. Because I believe I believe Washington won by 3 every single time. Nightmares, though, they will give me. That being said, Washington heads into the Big Ten. You knew they were going to be kind of rebuilding. And I believe Washington is going to be playing much better at the end of the year than they play in this part of the year, because that's what Jed Fish's teams did at Arizona. Arizona, like, they were a bear, pun intended, bear down. Arizona was a bear to contend with in November. And Jed Fish's teams kind of took that old Mike Riley style of like, we're going to learn a lot because he's an NFL guy, but like Washington by November is going to be pretty good.
Kind of like I agree, but kind of like Auburn. I know it was coined by Dick Tomey and whatnot, but bear down when you're the Wildcats?
Yeah.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
Curious, right?
It's
like,
good.
as a non-Arizona, like, I don't want to sit here and say I know. I don't know, other than it was just a Dick Tomey thing where he's like, bear down.
Where does...
and it's kind of
I was watching something, I think it was a Barstool thing, where they were talking about the best of, like, the phrases. And it was, in War Eagle, they had it number 2. And they did it in Auburn because they had Roll Tide as number 1. I've said multiple times, I have always been jealous because Oregon doesn't have one of those. They say SCO Ducks, and it's like, that's no.
The kids want to make it that.
It doesn't hit. Where's bear down fit? Because, like, it's not on the level of Roll Tide or War Eagle or Hook 'em. Like, Hook 'em is so cool.
That's good.
Boomer Sooner, that's a cool one. What else is up there? Well, Michigan, they all say Go Blue.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Go Blue is really good. Like,
even
Michigan.
Yeah, that's true.
Fight On is pretty good. That's what the USC people, they do the Fight On. Bear down, though, like, still, it's kind of cool.
It sounds cool.
It's kind of cool.
I mean, I'm thinking about just like the Pac-12, like Arizona State, like, not much there. Like,
They tried to make like forks up a thing, and I don't think it quite hit.
Well, it's true
I don't
because,
think it quite hit.
Justin says forever. Like, this is my last point that I'll let Justin get back to his point. Is Arizona State, the whole sleeping giant thing. They have the coolest mascot maybe on the West Coast, and
You think so? Sparky?
the Sun Devil is awesome, man. They just don't market it enough.
Like,
Like there used to be those
the actual mascot, the person walking around, or the idea of a Sun Devil, like the nickname.
maybe both. Maybe
Because,
both.
like, obviously-
I kind of like their mascot walking around with the pitchfork and I don't know. I've always liked it.
Because like the Ducks, like it's not an intimidating name, but as far as but it's obviously it has a history and a heritage, and I love all of it.
Same with the Beav, to be honest. Is a beaver the most intimidating thing? No.
They are hard workers, though.
Yeah, darn right we are.
Nature's engineers is what I hear.
But you know what I mean? Like,
but
even a husky, it's a cute dog. All right, a cougar's a little more intimidating.
Butch T. Coog,
A little more intimidating, but like a tree/color, as Justin said.
But what I'm saying, like the duck is not like as far as a nick. Nobody is going to be picking up the Ducks anytime soon as a name.
Sure.
But the mascot is cool. Like the Oregon mascot's cool. I always thought the Sun Devil was kind of annoying. Old Sparky. I always thought he was kind of annoying.
Always kind of liked it, for whatever reason. It could be my affinity for the university. But let's get back to your
What's
point,
been your most annoying mascot?
Whoa, that is a great question.
The tree? It's the tree, right? It's the tree. It's that stupid tree. It's the most annoying of all the mascots.
Let's see.
The cow bear just kind of stands there. Looks like a grandpa.
Is it Oski?
Oski, I believe is
Oski.
And I hate the Huskies. I do, but
it's a cute little pup.
That dog is cute.
It's a cute little pup. What's its name?
Dubs.
Yeah.
Dubs too.
Yeah.
My
Dubs
wife
is cute.
follows Dubs on Instagram because that's where we're at. And she's like, "Oh, look, it's Dubs." And I'm like, "You keep showing me that dog. You know I don't
Okay, I got one for you. And you're
Butch the coot.
So more so as a kid. Like, I don't really hate any mascots now.
How do you feel about that Purdue mascot that you saw on Saturday? That's kind of a cool mascot.
What was it?
It's the Boilermaker. He's got the head and the
I don't think
big
I saw
old
the
hammer.
I don't actually think I saw.
Did he not travel?
But again, the perspective of being up in the press box and all. But I would say that the tree is the most annoying. Mm-hmm. But for how good they were, Justin, I always thought. So I was like, it was Boise State. Growing up, I was always like, the Broncos and y'all are blue. Broncos aren't blue.
And they've got that, but they do have a blue. I don't know what its name is. I'm sure it's got.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like Justin, have you seen a blue horse? I think they're brown and white usually. Like and black. I've never seen.
Yeah, but I've also never seen a duck that can walk around and wears a shirt either. So
that's fair. But no, like
that.
Boise was annoying for whatever.
Benny the beaver wears a cool little hat. Does he still have a hat?
Yeah.
No.
I think they took away the hat.
Get him. Can we get Benny back his hat, please?
I think my favorite might have been growing up, though, Sebastian the Ibis. Miami was pretty cool, man. When you saw that little whatever the heck an Ibis is, that was cool. Anyway.
Sebastian the Ibis, by the way, got a 15-yard personal foul in the Sugar Bowl for celebrating with the team.
No kidding. I don't know if that's ever happened before.
It was Miami versus Florida in the Sugar Bowl.
That's cool.
They had fought each other on Bourbon Street like 2 nights before.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I want to say it was 2000. Just 2000 Sugar Bowl. They're in New Orleans. The U, and they're just about ready to pop.
Is that the old ball coach, Spurrier?
No. I believe that was post Spurrier. I want to say it was Ron Zook.
Let's look.
I want to say it's Ron Zook. But the Gators and the Canes.
Butch Davis? 2001 Sugar Bowl? Is that what you're...
Yes. Butch Davis is the coach at Miami.
Still the old ball coach. Still Spurrier?
Still Spurrier.
Yep.
How about that? And
Miami took it to him.
because Miami was that was the game and the season that got Butch Jones the job at the Cleveland Browns, and then Larry Coker would take over and should have won back-to-back national championships. They got screwed in the second one by a ridiculous flag, but either way.
Hey, Jim Tressel says thank you.
They fought each other, like all-out
I did not
brawl
know that.
on Bourbon Street,
Did
I
not
think
know
the
that.
night before. And then that brawl, it was the most physical, trash-talking game ever. It bled into the mascot, so Miami scored a touchdown, and Sebastian the Ibis goes running into the end zone to celebrate with Miami, gets a 15-yard penalty. And Butch Davis was about to murder
Could
an
you
Ibis.
imagine if just like now, like this weekend, Oregon scores a touchdown, Tez goes and all of a sudden just the duck just runs out in the middle of the end zone, celebrates
Like, I
with Tez.
could see that, but it was like the tension of that game was so high
Got
that
you.
Sebastian was like, that's a 15-yard penalty.
That's
Because
awesome.
they were fighting each other the
That's
whole
awesome.
time.
That's
Before
awesome.
the game and then during the game.
That's kind of awesome. I never knew that. But anyway, stories from Uncle Justin on a Friday.
I could do this all day.
I massively distracted you with that story, though. So I'll
Well, and we're going to talk about this maybe a little bit later on in the program because I firmly believe that obviously UCLA, I think, had to make the Big Ten move because of the money. I think UCLA is going to be a little – now, who knows? Maybe Nebraska. But Nebraska, remember, they left the Big 12 and went to the Big 10 and have done nothing relevant football-wise since. They made it, I think, to the Big 10 title game once. But that was based upon – I think Ndamukong Suh was on that team.
that was still Faux Pelini and his cats.
Yeah. But, like, culturally, they didn't fit. They just didn't fit. Nebraska culturally didn't fit in the Big Ten. And now maybe that is over. But UCLA, of all the teams, the four teams, Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA, one of these is not like the other. UCLA is not like the other. They don't fit in the Big Ten. And I have said forever that UCLA is not the sleeping giant that you think of. And the reason why is because if you are a recruit and you go to a UCLA game, I don't believe you stand there on the sidelines looking up at that half-empty stadium and go, yep, I want to play here. I remember talking to a recruiting guy, and Brendan, you might have heard this as well, covering recruiting. When you bring recruits into a big game, like maybe it's one of those Thursday night Oregon State USC games, right? Winning helps, but it really doesn't matter.
The atmosphere is everything.
It's the atmosphere.
Because those kids are like, oh, when I'm here, we'll win.
Exactly.
Yep.
It doesn't even matter if you win the game.
You just
what
can't-
matters is you get there and the atmosphere is crazy and a kid stands there on the sideline going, I want to play in this.
And most importantly, Justin,
I'm getting
and again,
goosebumps just talking about it. Like, I want to play in this environment. And yeah, and when I get here,
I say
we'll
this,
win.
And I say this kind of tongue in cheek too. Everybody wants something different, but it also is like, what upperclassmen do they spend that weekend with?
Mhm.
What parties do they take them to? It's like
Because I
it's
remember
all of it, right?
Like Kayvon Thibodeau was on his way to USC. He was going to USC, and then he came to an Oregon-Washington game. Now, Oregon would win that game. That was the overtime game. But if you've ever been to an Oregon-Washington game at Autzen Stadium, it's nuts. It's nuts there. Same with the classic Civil War games back in the day. And that was one of those where he was like, yeah, I want to play here. I want to play in this game. Because at the time, USC was still like, they were okay, but I think it was the end of Clay Helton. And there's a half-full Coliseum, and it's like, or you go to an Autzen Stadium that is packed to the gills and is like, yeah, this is where I want to play.
Okay, I'll ask you this.
And UCLA doesn't have that. I don't know if they're ever going to be football relevant in the Big Ten because they don't have that environment.
I don't. I actually did not know that Kayvon was committed to USC first, Justin. All right, so let me ask you this as a diehard Duck fan: bigger, impressive steal from USC, Kayvon Thibodeau or DeAnthony?
DeAnthony.
Not even a question. Kayvon was drafted 5th overall.
I know,
DeAnthony.
But
I love it.
Kayvon, obviously a better player. He was unbelievable.
I love it.
He had 2 sacks last night, I think. He's incredible. What I'm saying, Brendan, I got on some. DeAnthony Thomas did his announcement on local radio in I got into some weird places of the internet to try to listen to. That's how big of a deal DeAnthony Thomas was when he was flipping from USC
He was
to
like
Oregon.
Snoop Dogg's guy, wasn't he?
I don't even like recruiting, and I am on some dark like.
It was cool. It was a big deal.
I'm pirating internet radio from L.A. going like it was, and that's how big of a deal it was. And then he came to Oregon, was awesome, and then wasn't quite as awesome. Anyways, all that being said, hey, Oregon's playing UCLA. We got other games to talk about as well. I do want to talk some NFL, but we will go on campus. We're going to hand out some more roses. We have to take some roses back. And the Pac-12 now continues to look for an 8th suitor. It's not going to be Hawaii, and it doesn't look like it's going to be Texas State either. Who might it possibly be? We'll talk about that as we wrap up hour number 1 next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we're going to get back into college football weekend, NFL weekend coming up in hour number 2. Hour 3, excited to talk to Sean Hyken from the Rose Garden Report because it has been a big week for the Blazers. Media Day coming up on Monday, and I know the guys from Rip City Drive are going to be down there at Media Day on Monday. They're going to have a ton of stuff Monday afternoon. We will also have a ton of stuff on Tuesday morning, so make sure you hang with us here on Rip City Radio for all the sounds from Trailblazer Media Day. Oh, boy, it's on the way. It's nuts, but we'll talk to Sean Hyken, and maybe he knows some of the answers, maybe he doesn't, because the news came kind of fast and furious about the broadcasting deal. And I mean, your best bet if you live here, go get an antenna. That's your best bet. Go get an antenna. After that, we got YouTube TV, which I think some of the games are going to be on. There's DirecTV. But here's the good news. And I was listening to Dwayne Hankins, who was on with Chris Burkhart and Dwight on Rip City Drive a couple of days ago. This is the best part. In years past, when the Blazers were in discussions and distributing negotiations, if you got the short end of the stick in said negotiations, like your cable provider did not bring the Blazers to the table, you didn't get to watch. This way, they can negotiate and be in distributing negotiations the entire time while you're just plugging in your antenna and watching the games. It's the best part about it. Could you imagine if the Pac-12 network would have done that? It's like, oh, I have DirecTV. Well, you could plug in this and still watch it while we negotiate with DirecTV. So I think that's really good news for the Blazers. And heading into the season. So we'll talk to Sean Hyken in hour number 3. The Pac-12 still searching for number 8. Boy, there was a guy named Lou Bega who did a song called Mambo Number 5. It was a catchy song back in the 90s. Pac-12 looking for member number 8. Who could it potentially be?
I don't like the options anymore, Justin. I mean, it's...
I know you don't.
Like, this is...
I know you don't. That's why I said they needed to kiss and make up, but I don't think we're going to do it.
This is... you know what this is? This is you have been denied by your first about 8 choices to the prom.
Well, tip of the cap to Bill Oram for the Oregonian, who wrote a terrific column and brought in his own prom story about walking into class at Nesteka High School and was like, who wants to go to prom with me? Yeah, I know. So
and I think this point, Justin, like you are timely 2000 reference here. You might be looking at Ugly Betty.
You never watched Ugly Betty?
Neither did I. But
yeah, it's America Ferrera? Or was she something else?
Think so?
She was no, she wasn't Ugly Betty. Anyways,
but yes.
But while we figure that out, let's open up.
No, it was. It was for her. Yeah, you're
okay,
right.
Let's open up on campus. Okay. Here's how we sit right now, sports fans. The Pac-12 currently consists of Oregon State, Washington State. We knew that. Boise State, Colorado State, San Diego State, Fresno State, Utah State, all states in the name. The Mountain West has gotten a...
Hail State, baby.
Well, I don't know if you're going to get Mississippi State. The SEC might want to kick them out, though.
We'll take them.
Because they stink. So I believe right now the Mountain West has Air Force, New Mexico, San Jose State, UNLV, Hawaii just committed in a memorandum. Did I say New Mexico? So they've got their commitments, and it doesn't look like anybody else from the existing Mountain West is going to be coming back over to the new Pac-12. Also, according to reports, Texas State is being courted by the current Mountain West, and apparently Northern Illinois out of the MAC. I thought the MAC was untouchable, to be perfectly honest, but if Northern Illinois is flirting with the Mountain West, Did the MAC just open up? If you're the Pac-12,
is there anybody good in there?
There's some good football in the MAC. Let me let's take a look. Come on.
Buffalo, Central
MAC.
Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Toledo, Ohio, Bowling Green, Western Michigan, Akron, Miami, Ohio, Kent State, Northern Illinois, Ball State.
I mean, the MAC is fun. It's just it's
not exactly a sexy name, but
we're past that point. I don't know if there's a sexy
so like
name.
I said, we're back to Ugly Betty.
Yes.
Is that literally where we're at, Joseph?
But like just like we talked about with Hawaii, like Tuesday night Maction was so much fun, and if you go get like a Central Michigan, right? That's where what's his name rowed the boat. Who's rowed the boat?
PJ Fleck.
PJ Fleck, thank you. Fleck Bucks. Not to give you 12 Stanley Nickels.
Hey, so you fail the drug test? Here's 5 Fleck Bucks. We'll be good with it. I'll never forget that.
So good.
I will never forget that.
Give you 12 Stanley Nickels. But now apparently the MAC might be open. Obviously, mostly the great state of Ohio and the great state of Michigan in their Toledo, Akron, Western Michigan, any of those. If Northern Illinois is potentially heading out, who's left on the table?
So yeah, that's the thing. Of those options, Justin, I would take all the options that we discussed previously are better to me. So I would go UTEP and both New Mexicos make more sense than any of those teams, as crazy as it sounds.
But did New Mexico sign that memorandum?
We learned that memorandum means very little.
I know, but it's a thing.
It's
still something.
I mean, technically, Utah State signed the memorandum, and then
real quick, because I think I got about 15 seconds.
Yeah,
this whole thing is going to come down to a court case in California, and if the Pac-12 is forced to pay around $50 million plus exit fees, the Mountain West is going to have a haul, and they're going to be able to pull in some teams. If they don't have that money, that memorandum is worth as much as the paper it's printed on, and teams are going to start bailing to where the money is. That's where this whole thing comes down to, and that may not get resolved for about 3 or 4 years. It's nuts. You know it's not nuts? Hour 2 of Rip City Mornings. Coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio.
7 a.m. on a Friday. Brendan Slaughter with you for Rip City Mornings. The Dallas Cowboys improved to 2-1 on the year, taking down the Giants at MetLife 20-15. Some concern for the Cowboys. The star linebacker Micah Parsons was carted off and will undergo an MRI on his left ankle, but early reports are optimistic after the X-rays were negative. Mountain West gets commitments from its 7 members, 6 full-time if you're not including Hawaii, which is football only. So they need 2 more to get to the magic number of 8. Well, the Pac still searching for the last rose to hand out. Coming up in about 20 minutes, we're going to do Make or Miss. Hour 3, we got Sean Highkin. You got 2 more hours, Rip City Mornings on a Friday.
Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Hopefully you are all having a fantastic Friday. We're having a good time. Make or Miss is in 20 minutes. It's a Hot Take Friday, so we've got our fair share of hot takes coming up to wrap up the second hour, and then we're going to talk to Sean Highkin, as Brendan just told you, in hour number 3. Thursday Night Football last night. I've described Thursday Night Football this way. Thursday Night Football is like when you go to the office and you didn't expect it and you get an email and it says pizza in the break room. That's what Thursday Night Football is. Because it's never really good pizza. It's never like, hey, Alfredo's Pizza Kitchen. It's usually pizza by Alfredo.
And probably not, like kidnapping a kid.
But you know what I mean? Like you get into the office on like on a Thursday and you're just working and you get this emails like, hey, pizza in the break room. And maybe you saw the email late and the pizza's been sitting out for about an hour and it's chain pizza, which by the way, it's not bad. It's not good. It's not like Ken's Artisan.
You love giving them a lot of pub.
Who's that?
Ken's. You talk about Ken's a lot. Even more than the Muddy Rudder.
I think they just made another list. I've been there a handful of times.
I've only been there one time. It was really good pizza, really good Caesar salad.
Caesar salad is good.
Really good salad.
Is Caesar salad the best salad? Of the lettuce salad.
For my picky self, yes. Yes. This is a simple salad. I'm picky, so it's simple. Right? Add a little chicken. That's about as exotic as I want to go.
Probably don't like a chef salad, huh?
No.
I love a chef salad.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Love a chef salad.
You've told me, but yeah, I'm more of a Caesar guy.
The blue cheese crumbles and the bacon.
Yeah, I'm not a big blue cheese guy.
I know. It doesn't surprise me, but not in a bad way. It just doesn't surprise me.
Respect it.
Blue cheese is a little too adventurous for old Brendan's palate, I would imagine.
As far as I would go was like the Abby's when they'd mix the half ranch, half blue cheese, right?
But blue cheese dressing. I'm talking about blue cheese crumbles.
No, couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
Don't want to get into a salad discussion here.
No, you're good. You're good. Again, but Brendan's palate is weird.
You sit there, it's like 10:30, 10:45, and you're like, I was gonna go there for pizza in the break room. Let's go. It's about an hour old. It's been sitting out at room temperature. The pepperoni and sausage is all gone, but there's a handful of slices of cheese there, and you're like, yeah, on a Thursday, I'll take it. That's Thursday Night Football. That's what it is. Even when it's good teams, and by the way, those 2 teams are not good last night. But even when it's good teams, it's just like, it's not the best I would ever take. It's not if I had my absolute choice of what kind of pizza I would want, I would not want Cowboys but you know what? Hey, it's there. Why not? And then we saw the product last night, and it was a bad football game. Giants can't get in the end zone. How long do they stick with Danny Dimes? How long does this last? They're already doing stuff on ESPN about whether or not he should be benched. Now, here's the problem, though. This is the problem that the Giants have, as opposed to, say, the Patriots, right? The Patriots have Jacoby Brissett. He's not going to be very good this year, but they have a rookie waiting in the wings. The Giants have Drew Lock waiting in the wings. They've
I'll say
got
this in the defense of the Giants.
they got
Justin,
Drew
is-
Lock and they got Tommy DeVito. That's who they got waiting in the wings. Like they don't have any rookie sitting there. Like let's say, Kirk Cousins. Now he came back and played a little bit better than he did against the Steelers, but let's say Kirk Cousins, it doesn't work. Like you've got Michael Penix just sitting there.
So
The Giants got nobody.
So here's the problem. The Giants have a lot of problems to start with, and I really don't think that Dable is a bad coach. And here's why I have some optimism. The Cowboys are a good team, and while they didn't win, they lost by 5. And here's the really big key, which is why
are the Cowboys a good team? Are they a good team?
You know my favorite phrase in this in the world, Justin. Good is the enemy of great.
Yeah.
So they are good.
And I will counter that with you are what your record is.
Yeah, like you are. I think they are
You
good.
want to throw out a couple more cliches? You got to run the ball.
But that being said, Justin, Danny Dimes is doing one thing incredibly through 3 weeks. Incredibly. And that's getting the ball to their number 1 pick, Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors is looking like the next Justin Jefferson out there. Look at what Malik Neighbors has done these first 3 weeks, Justin. He was, if I'm not mistaken, the second receiver taken after Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison a little slower to start. But if you, regardless of everything else, if you're getting the ball and you're making your number 5, I think it was 5th, pick look like a star, that's going to buy you some time. Now, if Danny Dimes was, like you said, throwing a bunch of picks and they're like, hey, we got the number 5 pick here. He's got 2 catches on the year. It'd be even louder. That's quieted it a bit.
How did LSU ever lose with Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels
Great question.
on their team? How?
My family is just a mediocre. Well, not mediocre. My family's a good coach, not a great coach.
You should be able to, at LSU, to walk outside of Baton Rouge and throw a rock and hit 3 defensive linemen who could get to the quarterback. Like that's how deep the talent is.
It's so insane.
In Louisiana for defensive. You think about all of those great LSU teams and go back and look at their defense and look at where they're all from.
Nasty.
They're all from Louisiana.
Yeah.
They're all
deep
from,
south. Yeah.
They are all they're all from Louisiana.
Yeah, that's true.
And like I said, just throw a rock and you're like, oh, hey, I hit that guy. You want to play defensive tackle? Yeah, probably.
But just the fact that
and that you had Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors on your team last year, and I know they put up a gajillion yards and they got Daniels a Heisman Trophy, and if Daniels keeps playing, by the way, the history may look back at that Heisman Trophy and smile more than maybe we thought at the time. I was also a little bitter because I wanted Bo to win, and I wanted to win some money.
And Penix had a strong case, too.
I think Penix had
for what it's worth.
He definitely had a stronger case than Bo.
But, I mean, just the craziest thing, Justin, that, like, we look at this now, and say what you will about LSU, say what you will about the fact that it's been 2 different head coaches. The fact that there are 2 bona fide franchise star quarterbacks, 2 actually, I'm going to go 3. 3 bona fide franchise star wide receivers.
You got Chase in there, too.
Yeah.
You got Jamar Chase, you got Justin Jefferson, and now you got Malik Neighbors.
All in 6 years.
Yeah.
Or, no, 4 years.
4 years. It's 2019.
Yeah.
2019.
And then
because one of them
was Chase that took 2020 off.
Yeah,
that's
like,
right.
I ain't playing in this COVID stuff. I'm going like top 10 in the NFL. Like I'm not playing.
Was he playing chess and not checkers? Going, if I do this, there's a chance I could play with my quarterback. You think about that because now. Obviously, Neighbors probably like, I wish I could play with Daniels, but that's impossible, right? It would have had to be like a Houston Texans, Stroud and Will Anderson a couple years ago.
Didn't they do that with Etienne and Trevor Lawrence?
They did. So,
and it was working for a while. Now it's not working so much.
No, but that's like, I wonder if Jamar Chase like, yo, Joe, you're gonna go be the top pick. Just don't be very good with the Bengals your first year, and then you guys go get me.
His ACL, right?
Yeah. And then it's, hey, you guys go get me. That worked out.
So I'll give you that Danny Dimes is throwing.
But other than that, it's bad. Totally bad.
But they can't get in the end zone. Like they moved like he's got to be so annoying to Giants fans because I'm watching this game. It'd be one thing to be like Bryce Young and you just kind of stink. You know what I mean? Or to be like Deshaun Watson and you just kind of stink. Like I'm watching the game last night. It's like they're moving the ball. He's hitting receivers like that. You see, like kind of what is that, and then they get inside the 35, and then you're just like, nah, we're not gonna do anymore. And obviously, that's the Cowboy defense. How bad is Micah Parsons hurt? We don't know.
He'll be fine.
It didn't look good. It didn't look good.
It'll be an ankle sprain. Probably miss 4 or 5. Probably a high ankle sprain. But if X-rays are negative, that's always a good sign. It's not a season ender.
Yeah,
so.
but high ankle sprain.
Oh yeah, no, it'll be 4 or 5 weeks without a doubt.
Just nag and nag.
Oh yeah,
and
no,
nag.
like for sure. But no, it's good to know he didn't like break his ankle, right? Obviously.
But here's what I wonder though, because Daniel Jones he's good enough to move the football. Obviously, not good enough to get in the end zone last night. You're not going to win an awful lot of games. You're 1-3. And you're Brian Daboll. You got to be feeling the heat. They go to Seattle next week. Seattle's good. Then they get the Bengals. I don't know if the Bengals are good or not. And then they face the Eagles. Then they go to Pittsburgh. Then they get it's going to be November before there's a game they are because they play the Panthers at home in November. I think they'll be favored in that game. Maybe. The old Red Rifle and Andy Dalton might have turned the season around for the Carolina Panthers, by the way.
I hope not. I don't want Carolina's terrible owner to have any success. He doesn't deserve it. I mean, it's like, spill some more drinks on fans, dude.
But I always like it. As much as I hate the Cleveland Browns, I kind of like that little Joe Flacco moment last year.
Yeah,
where it's like,
it's true.
Guys wrote me off for dead. Watch how good I can still play quarterback. And Andy Dalton's been written off for dead a couple of times. Like, hey, I can still play this. I can still play this game. But if you're the Giants, like I said, you think, you got to bench Danny Dimes. For who? Tommy DeVito played last year in a couple of spots, and he had his fun moment with his weird agent.
At the pizza place, remember?
who looked like a guy straight off of the Jersey Shore.
It was so funny.
Or Drew Lock, and I think we all have seen enough Drew Lock in our lives.
Yeah, we've seen that movie. Even the Seahawks, who give everybody a chance.
Is Drew Lock's best football moment when he's sitting on the bench rapping to, I think it's Young Jeezy? Is that like his best football moment?
Yeah. It probably.
But if you're Brian Daboll, you're like, I'm staring down a winless month of October. Seahawks, Bengals, Eagles, Steelers. I'm staring down a winless.
Definitely not beat the Steelers.
They're at Acrisure too, so good luck. What does Daboll do at quarterback? What does he do? Because Danny Dimes thing, can we stop? Maybe I should start calling him Danny Jones because he's not really dropping many dimes. Usually, you drop a dime or two, you get in the end zone. So there you go. There's Brendan, I don't know if the Cowboys are good. I don't know if they're good.
Yeah, they might not be. That's why I said Mike McCarthy, lame duck.
They're 2-2, and I guess you are. They go to the Steelers. Oh, Sunday Night Football?
Yeah, Steelers can crush them, dude.
Woo! Let's hope so. If the Steelers lose, I'm going to be...
I don't believe in Mike McCarthy, and I haven't for a long time.
If the Steelers lose, I'm going to be so mad. I'm going to be so mad. All right. Coming up next, we have got Make or Miss on a Friday. It is Rip City Mornings on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, 1 hour from now, Sean Hyken's going to join the big show. Obviously, he has been on the ball with this the Blazer Broadcasting News, and we'll talk to him about some of the things moving forward. That it was a lot of information that we got on. Was it Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday. We got a lot of information thrown at us. Well, it was Monday night. It was after Monday Night Football, and then we came on the air on Tuesday, and I think Dwayne Hankins has been doing a good job. He was on Rip City Drive. He was on a handful of other shows. They exist. We know about it. But I think there's still some interesting aspects of this that I want to talk to Sean Hyken about. Plus, we got Blazer Media Day coming up. Been a very quiet summer for the Blazers, and I don't know if I expected it to be so quiet. Remember we talked about, maybe it was just an Olympic thing and that the NBA kind of was taking a break, but you get the sense that the Blazers are just going to head into this season with the roster they currently have. And I know there was the Jeremy Grant part of it, and
they're just waiting for the Lakers to get desperate enough to offer 2 first-round picks, and that's going to happen.
Is that what you think?
That's Joe Cronin's become a master negotiator now, Justin. He knows how to do this. He did it with Dame, holding on for the last minute to get the best deal. He's not going to get pushed around. I think by about December, we're going to hear the chimes from, the Lakers are not good enough. They're not me. And then all of a sudden, Rob Pelinka's going to get forced to make a trade for Jeremy Grant.
We're not going to know anything from the Dame trade right till what, 2028? Something like that?
It could be a minute. But again,
I guess DeAndre Ayton was part of that. Maybe now, is it vis-a-vis Denny Advia is now part of that deal, right? That's the trickle down. You get Denny Advia.
And you look at there
really hasn't been an awful lot of,
and you also
of
look at
recouping from trading away a guy like Damian Lillard.
Well, and this is too. Joe Cronin, again, had a backseat, again, based on what I heard from everybody. Neil was in the front seat and everybody else was in the back seat. But he had a backseat to everything Neil did, right? And what was the biggest problem, Justin, when the Blazers actually... The core of Dame, CJ, and Nurk was good enough without Farouk Aminu Mo Harkless, and then throw in Seth Curry. That was their best team. That core was good enough to compete. The problem was they didn't have those assets to get that final player to get over the hump. The way that this looks on paper, Justin, is you've already got Scoot, you've got Shaden, you've got Denny, you've got Klingon. That's on paper an asset that by the end of the decade could be good enough. Then you go, hey, we've also got these draft picks that we really don't need. Let's go get another piece. That's where I think it is. It's giving yourself assets for when Scoot, Shaden, and Klingon are at their peak.
And maybe potentially.
Hopefully. That's knock on wood. That's the plan.
And then, let's be honest, barring disaster.
That can happen.
Likely a top 5 pick in this draft.
Yeah.
Likely.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, actually.
Well, no, that's why I said barring disaster. There's always a way, right?
So what if they're good, Justin?
Is
that a disaster if they're good? In some ways, it might be.
Well, the disaster would be,
win like 30 games.
It's sports disaster. Obviously, there's a hurricane going on right now. True. There's a lot of disasters. But the disastrous would be not that they're good, but the West is so good, but they're good enough to be like 6th from the bottom. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then you lose in the lottery or something silly, and you go from maybe being in the top 3 to now maybe picking outside of the top 10, and you're like, oh boy, but not good enough to make who knows? Or maybe Scoot, Shaden, and Klingon is enough over the next with Advia and maybe even with DeAndre Ayton. Maybe that's enough to start building. I don't know, but I get the sense they're not done rebuilding yet. You know what I mean?
For sure. And again, I think you said it's been quiet. I did see some reporting recently that the Memphis Grizzlies and New Orleans Pelicans have shown interest in some Blazers centers. Again, the Blazers have a logjam at center. The problem is, like Justin said last year, I thought it was problematic and that's why they got rid of Malcolm Brogdon. You don't draft someone number 3 overall to have them come off the bench. Period. Like that does, and same with Donovan Klingon.
Or 7th overall.
Right. You need him to play. So,
yeah.
I heard some rumors that Pelicans could be interested in DeAndre Ayton. I heard that the Grizzlies could be interested in Robert Williams. So somebody's going to have to go, Justin, just like Brogdon had to go. Like, sorry.
But I'm just curious. I'm curious. And I guess
So we'll
we
see.
didn't see Dame traded until September,
Right?
last year. So
Cronin could be just, doing his Cronin stuff.
were they in training camp when he got traded?
No,
Am I remembering
just
that
like
wrong?
like days before.
It was days before. So, well, we're days before. Who knows? Maybe we'll see
Cronin,
something.
you never know, man.
So all that being said, Sean Hike is going to join us. Very excited about that. He was at I saw on Instagram. He was at Green Day the other night. In the rain. Die Hard right there. I don't know if I could do a concert in the rain. I don't know. What about you? Outdoor concert in the rain. How much would you have to love the artist?
Okay, so I'll give you.
I don't know if I could do
I'll
it.
throw you this story. The best, actually not the best. It was the second best. I've seen Travis Scott 2 times, and the first time was the best because nobody knew who he was, and Drake showed up, and it was amazing.
Where was that at? Moda?
Coliseum. That's how small. It was huge. It was awesome. And then Drake showed up just randomly. But
That's always the best, is when you have like, I saw X, Y, and Z, and like at this little time. That's the best.
It is.
It's one of my favorite things.
But no, Justin. So when Travis Scott came back 3 years later, and he was, king of whatever genre he is, hip hop, rap, R&B, Super Bowl Travis, right? This is peak of Travis's power.
Sure.
Before, some incidents happened with some kids. And it was at Moda, and it was January. I'm talking the dead of winter. My buddy and I were in the pit, got our seats to go into the pit, and you obviously line up. We sat outside for,
in January.
I want to say 8 hours before the doors opened.
Yeah, no thank you.
We had chairs set up, took trips back to the car to turn on the heater and warm up. Also had, maybe some beverages in the car waiting too.
Understood.
And it was game. And then Justin, these chairs were so cheap, we just threw them in the trash right when we walked in. But yeah, 8 hours. I guarantee. I told my buddy that the other day. I said it is a miracle we did not get hypothermia.
I don't know if
it was so cold.
Waited in line for 8 hours for anything.
It was still, it was one of the coolest that might be the last time. Like Justin, I've told him like I enjoyed I'm not sure I can do the pit of a concert anymore. That was the last time I did the pit, and I paid the price.
All right. What are we doing? Make or miss? That's what we're doing. Let's dive into it. I mean, it's not that I need to sit down during a concert. It's I need my own designated reserved space.
Yes.
Because I'll go to I've been to a show a handful of times at the Crystal Ballroom, and it's great. You're standing up, and it's no big deal. But then, I want to go get a beer. You know what I mean? And I would run to the bar, and I go to Kelly. I go, stand wide, babe. Keep the elbows out because I'm coming. Because they if you don't hold on, you leave a spot when it's kind of that festival seating or that general admission, boy, it tightens up. And
I'll say this.
I go, keep the space. I'm coming right back.
That concert was in January of 2019. I'll just say this. When you were in the pit, there were signs of what was eventually going to come haunt Travis Scott amongst what was...
Got it.
Yeah, I remember I fell down, and if I wasn't about my wits, I might have been trampled.
Okay.
It was...
I'm out on
it
that
was
too.
insane. And it didn't help that, your boy was several beverages in and enjoying his good time.
That's why I need my own spot.
But at the same token, that same concert, I also got, lifted up and passed through the crowd a time or two.
Not doing that either.
That was, and I was very nearly... Because that whole concert, he had a roller coaster put into Moda Center, and he picked some kids out of the crowd to ride the roller coaster with him, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
I was this close, man. Oh, it would have been so cool. But anywho, all right, let's get into make or miss. The Pac-12 and Mountain West, Justin, currently is the scene from The Office with the murder episode with Savannah, where they got the finger guns, and they're like,
who's gonna? Well, that was, I believe, an homage to Bad Boys 2. There was a scene in Bad Boys 2 with Martin Lawrence and Will Smith where they did the There's a name for that. I don't think it's appropriate anymore, so I'm not going to say that. But there's a name for that where you have three people each pointing a gun at the other.
Can you just say a duel?
There's another name for it, but
for the sake of this, let's just call it a duel.
But a duel means two. There's
we're gonna fit this argument to two, Justin. Quit trying to change my make or miss.
So it's a standoff, and it's
like Pam. I'm not going down for this.
It's getting
start the car.
It's getting real interesting because I said this in hour number 1, and this is what it's going to come down to. And I think the Pac-12 should be very, very careful with who they add as an 8th member, because so far we've seen conferences bring teams in. We have not seen conferences kick teams out. You might be saying, Justin, what are you talking about? The Beavs and the Cougs. No. They were not kicked out of a conference. They were left behind. That's very, very different. I think you have to be very careful with who you bring in as an 8th member, because if, in fact, the Pac-12 wins this lawsuit and they don't have to write a $50 million check to the Mountain West and they get to keep that money, then they will be at a stronger position financially. If they lose this lawsuit, and not only does every team that has left the Mountain West, which is 5, so let's do the math right now. It's always, people love doing math when we do math on the air. So $10 million per school, that's easy math. That's $50 million. From what I saw reported, it might be accurate, it might not. The Mountain West is also charging every former member a $17 million exit fee. So 17 times 5 plus 50, that's $135 million on the table. Or around 2 Jimbo Fisher buyouts. $135 million that is essentially kind of up for grabs. And if this court case in California, if they find for Mountain West, they get themselves a cool $135 million. I would also say good luck collecting that. The Pac-12 may pull off. Yeah, we could do it in installments. What do you think? Over 20 years? But if the Mountain West doesn't get that money, they can't afford to pay what I'm assuming they offered all these schools to stay. So if they don't have that money, then those schools are going to, they signed a memorandum. That's not legal and binding. It's a nice story. It's like the Alliance. So as crazy as it sounds, everything's going to come down to this one court case in California, and it may take years to figure out. And so be careful who you bring in.
See, I don't think that's the problem. I think they'll be able to get it. Expedited, just like they did with up in Whitman County. I think they'll be able to. It will still take months, but I don't think you can They can't wait years, Justin. Like with the way the conference and all that. So I think they'll find a judge to get, and they will get this moved up the docket. They will.
Yeah, but then appeals come, and then appeals upon appeals, because this is the difference.
I mean, Washington and Oregon and all them tried to appeal too.
They did, but I think ultimately
shut that down real quick.
This is the difference, though. I believe, and again, like I said, I'm not a legal scholar. I'm married to one.
Hey, she said she didn't want me billed for this.
She also said, I can't. I've got enough stuff at work. I can't worry about your cute radio show. She didn't say that. She's very supportive. The difference was, I believe, Oregon, Washington, mostly UCLA, they're in a financial position where, they were thinking about appealing it, or even the schools that went to the Big 12, where I think they're like, okay, fine, it's better to just have a break and move forward. You lost the court case. Do you want to continue to fight, or we'll just continue to take the money from the Big Ten and we'll be good? This, if the Mountain West loses, is disastrous for the Mountain West. I believe disastrous. Because I don't know if they're actually robbing Peter to pay Paul, but they kind of are. right? They're taking from the Pac-12 to pay current members more money. They're giving them signing bonuses and whatnot. Well, if you don't get that money back and recoup it, and you don't get a good TV deal because your best asset is now UNLV, I don't know how you pay off those bonuses. And then that memorandum, that's cute and all, but that's not worth it. So that's why I think this might take a little bit longer. But I don't know. Maybe both sides come to an agreement.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that. I think
not a merger. I know you poo-pooed the merger yesterday, and I think you're probably right. We're probably too far beyond that. But do you think at some point both the Mountain West and the Pac-12 are going to be like, can we kind of find a number in the middle? We can shake hands and we can both move on and play some football.
Perhaps, but I'll say this again. You read Gloria Navarro's statement. You read Teresa Gould's statement. This is all-out war now between the two. And I don't think there is backstabbing. There is this.
But at some point.
I think there's going.
The 2026 season will come at some point.
Like,
right?
say what you will, Justin. I don't believe it's necessarily good business. But I think you're going to have two stubborn sides that stand pat. I really do. I think you're going to have two stubborn sides. And I think the Pac-12 is like, we've got the best lawyers in California. And we've kicked someone's teeth once in court. We're prepared to do it again. So if I was Pac-12, I would feel very confident about the legal.
I don't know if I'm as confident as you are with the Pac-12, and here's why. Previously, I think the Pac-12, when they were going up against the rest of those schools, and they said, no, it's in our bylaws. If you leave, you forfeit. And they're like, well, we didn't leave. It's like, here's a bunch of tweets. You all said you were leaving. It's pretty cut and dry. Whereas this, you're almost on the opposite, where Mountain West now created a bylaw, and the Pac-12 was the one that broke the bylaw. But now it's a precedent of whether or not the bylaw is actually legal. This whole thing makes my brain melt.
No, I did see, like, that is the whole point, is that it supposedly violates antitrust. Is the exit fees is not, or the it's when you combine it that it becomes antitrust, where it's like, not only did we have to pay you for this, then it was, paying for the exit fees too. I mean, from what I've heard, it will come down to a judge's constitutional opinion, which is so much of everything these days.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, and
then it's going to get kicked up and kicked up and kicked up.
Yeah, from my layman, and I will say very layman's understanding, they have a leg to stand on. Like, do I think they will win? I'm optimistic, but I think it's not.
But don't you think the Mountain West, because they've got that contract, they've also we got our leg to stand on too.
Well, it's kind of like the Florida State Clemson thing. It's like, you did that, but then you're also doing things to hinder us from better opportunities, right? So it's complex.
This whole thing makes my brain melt. It really does. I'm so sick of it. I just shake hands.
Easy to say.
Figure it out and get to playing football. Yeah, get the teams in your conference.
And your team's not even dealing with it.
I know. But I deal with it every single day.
You say figure it out. Your team's not even in the middle of it.
There's too many smart people in the world that should be able to figure this out, all right? The fact that I'm sitting here, you're sitting here, we've kind of figured some things out. There's too many smart people in the world. Just get it figured out. So frustrating. All that being said, UTEP? Huh? Timmy Hardaway? The Miners?
Yes, so.
All right. Maybe they might be them. I think Timmy Hardaway he's the most famous UTEP alum.
There are Aaron Jones, running back. Green Bay Packers, Vikings.
Yeah.
That's probably about it.
Boom. Let's go Miners.
Not much. Not much.
Let's go Miners.
Got the fumble.
Well, I guess Texas Western. They got a movie because Texas Western became UTEP. So I guess you got a Disney movie there.
It's true.
Who was that guy? Forget that actor's name. He was in Sweet Home Alabama, which is the greatest rom-com of all time. Anyways, yeah, I said it.
No, I think someone in my household would agree with you strongly.
Sweet Home Alabama is the greatest rom-com of all time.
Let's have a rom-com debate next hour.
I think the people would love that more than
mailbag. We might get into it.
Maybe more than talking about ridiculous lawyers in California.
It's okay. Mailbag. It might be appropriate.
Which Texas team the new Pac-12 wants to go get? Ugh. All right, let's get to Hot Take Friday as we wrap up hour number 2 next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's wrap up hour number 2. Obviously, this industry that we work in is built upon hot takes, and some people like to look down their nose. They like to be a little snooty. They like to think they are above hot takes, but you know what? We are not. We are not above hot takes. As a matter of fact, we like to save our spiciest takes, which are passionate arguments about complete nonsense, and sprinkled in with some very bad football predictions. Here for the end of the week. It is now time for a little Hot Take Friday. Here we go. All right, let's do a little football hot take this weekend. One matchup I am very much intrigued by is USC coming off of a really kind of an embarrassing loss to Michigan. I mean, did Lincoln Riley screw up the clock? It felt like Lincoln Riley screwed up the clock last weekend, and that if they had just a little bit of clock management, they would have been able to walk out of Ann Arbor with a win. But instead, they give Michigan life, and now they come back to the Coliseum. They are 15-point favorites at home against Wisconsin. I have this weird feeling Wisconsin's going to win this game. I have no reason to believe so because Wisconsin got smoke showed by Alabama, but that was 2 weeks ago. They're coming off of a bye. They're heading down to L.A. There's going to be, I'm assuming, as many Wisconsin fans in the stands as there are USC fans. Because if you're a Wisconsin fan, don't you look at the schedule and be like, first year of the new Big Ten, let's go to Disneyland? 14-point spread. I got Wisconsin winning outright or very, very close. But USC, there's no way they cover this game. I got a weird feeling Wisconsin's going to beat USC. You got a game that looks weird to you? I was shocked at the 15.5-point spread. I was shocked by it. I think looking at what LSU has done, I think USC might be. They're not frauds, but they don't look like they are as back as we thought when they beat LSU. Let's
Hot
just say
take.
that.
I think once they get beat by BYU this weekend, I think we're going to see Dave Aranda hot seat get real.
That final play against Colorado was some of the worst coaching I've seen.
Crazy thing is, I love butterfly effects, and let me tell you, Justin, if Dave Aranda were to get fired at Baylor, he would be the top coordinator available on the market probably since. It would almost be like if Chip Kelly
wasn't Joe Brady?
Yeah.
He was a hot
just the stock would never, like, it's insane because you go back and look, not only was Dave Aranda Ed Ogeron's defensive coordinator the year that LSU crushed and beat everybody, it's kind of funny how this works. He is responsible for, I think this is a really crazy stat that only Beaver fans know. I think it's something, Justin, like he's responsible for 70% of Gary Anderson's college wins when he was Gary Anderson's defensive coordinator. So he's just won and had great defense everywhere. So whether that's, Bama, Oregon, Texas, whoever needs a coordinator, that dude will get paid because I think they're not going to beat BYU and they're going to be 2-3, 0-2 Big 12. This was kind of a prove it year for him. I think he's going to get the old hook this offseason or this quote season. My other hot take is, Justin, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Ugly Betty. Hot take. Pac-12 needs to get somebody this week. By the end of the weekend, I want a warm body in there. I don't want an FCS team, so save me your Sac State. We can check in with you guys in like 4 or 5 years when you have a real stadium. But at the time, no. We need UTEP. Get the Sun Bowl. I think that's kind of your options now. UTEP or Rice. So just great and not like the food rice, like the school rice.
This isn't really a hot take, but
hot take one of those two teams.
I have a weird feeling Are we going to see Cam Rising play quarterback again for Utah? I get this weird feeling we're not going to see that he's just going to be done. I just have from what they did last year, and he had an injury. He's had an injury to his throwing hand since what, week 1? Week 1 or week 2, he had an injury to his throwing hand. We don't know what said injury is. Is it possible that he broke his hand and they're just going to do this all season long? They're at home against Arizona, 7:15 kickoff. That should be an interesting matchup if he doesn't play. They got the win last week against Oklahoma State, which was a huge win. I think they are now the favorites. I would imagine they're the betting favorites to win the Big 12. But he hasn't played.
Knowing how
do you think he broke his hand and we're not going to see him play all season?
How they've lied before, I'm not going to say it's impossible. That would surprise me if he broke his hand. I think the problem with this, Justin, and it will probably be something that Kyle Whittingham says in like a tell-all if they ever win a big enough games and they do like a 30 for 30. He'll probably say, I love Cam Rising, but dealing with his agent and his doctor was a pain in the rear.
Do you think it's a Cam Rising thing, not a Kyle Whittingham thing? Or is it maybe a combo of both?
I do.
Kyle Whittingham doesn't want to give any information out.
Because you go back to last year where Kyle Whittingham was peeved, and he's like, well, from our perspective, Cam should be playing, but you got to talk to Cam's doctor. And it's just like, I think it's something there, and I think, once again, you've got a doctor saying, why would you go play, kid? You might be able to get an 8th year.
Yeah. Well,
tell me I'm wrong.
Might get a 9th year. Cam McCormick, I think, is on year 9.
It's possible, man.
And you just keep cashing those NIL checks
just be like,
over and over and over again.
Like I tell people, Justin, it's so sad that the mean NCAA lady from the blind side essentially doesn't even have a job anymore. Like, it's just like...
Well, they're going to have new jobs now because what's going on at UNLV and what is ultimately going to start happening, I don't know if it's going to be under the purview. I might be using that word incorrectly, but it might... under the umbrella of the NCAA, maybe this is like the new thing that they can investigate and maybe start enforcing, because it's going to be one thing when it happens at UNLV. It's going to be another thing when it ultimately happens at an SEC or a Big Ten school where a quarterback's agent comes into coach's office week 3 and says...
What if Jalen Milroe said this? College football would have broke.
To me, it's more about like... Well, Dylan Raiola. Yeah. Now, he's making a lot of money at Nebraska, from what I understand. What if Dylan Raiola is like, I'm a true freshman right now. I could redshirt, and if they lose to because they lost last week to Illinois, they're not going to lose to Purdue, but season's not going the way we thought. I either need some more money or I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. We've got a full hour number 3 coming up. Do want to remind you about Ticket Tuesday, though. Rip City Drive each and every Tuesday afternoon. Your chance to score tickets to an upcoming Thorns game all throughout the month of September and beyond. Ticket Tuesday with Rip City Drive with Chad and Dwight here on 620 Rip City Radio. Hour 3 next, 620 Rip City Radio.
8 a.m. on a Friday. Brendan Slaughter with you for Rip City Mornings. The Dallas Cowboys improved to 2-1 on the year, taking down the Giants at MetLife 22-15. Cowboys star linebacker Micah Parsons will undergo an MRI on his left ankle after being carted off, but early reports are optimistic. The x-rays were negative on Parsons. Over in the Mountain West, they get commitments from 7 members, 6 if you don't count Hawaii, which is not a full-time member. So they need 2 more to reach 8, while the Pac-12 still searching for the last rose. Coming up in about 20 minutes, we're going to catch up with Sean Highkin from the Rose Garden Report, talk some Blazers. You got Rip City Mornings, Hour 3.
Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Hopefully you are all having a fantastic Friday. If you're new to the program, welcome. Thanks for coming by. If you like what you hear, would you mind telling a friend? If you could tell 2, that'd be great. 3, that's a little thirsty. Also, if you are a returning customer, we appreciate you for hanging out with us. However long, whether you are a 3-hour listener or you are just, 5 minutes on your way to work, we appreciate you guys hanging out. Couldn't do what we do without all of you guys. Sean Highkin's going to join us in 20 minutes, as Brendan just told you. We'll talk about the Blazers TV deal once again, as I feel like we've got now some more information than we did maybe Tuesday morning. And I know Dwayne Hankins has brought up a couple of things. It sounds like on January 1, there will be more availability, and one of the channels in the list of 4 call letters that is currently Univision is going to be flipped, and that's going to become Rip City TV, and it's going to be able to show like some old school classic games and more Blazer coverage. They're going to put the trail on there as well. And kind of where we can all find Blazer games heading into the upcoming season, which is on the way because Media Day is coming up on Monday, and Chad and Dwight are going to be down there Monday morning, and we're going to have a ton of stuff from Blazers Media Day on Monday afternoon, and then, of course, Tuesday morning right here on this program. Now, tomorrow, very late, 8 o'clock kickoff from the Rose Bowl. Oregon's going to be taking on UCLA. Oregon is...
Me outside? You gonna be outside TV? At that time of night? Or?
Not that might be too late for the outdoor TV.
Yeah, I was curious.
We'll see. I mean, play it by ear. That's the beauty of having an outdoor and an indoor TV.
Yes,
it's
sir.
like much like the Mariners, right? The Mariners, by the way, mathematically eliminated from the playoffs yesterday.
Hey, gotta give credit.
Better luck next year, Ems.
I give him credit to help me out. The interim who wasn't an interim
Dan Wilson,
Thank
who
you.
is not an interim manager. He is the manager.
Yeah, I give him credit. They could have folded up, Justin, and you know this. We talked about you and me, Chad, doing last time we were here. We're like, what happened to the Mariners? They could have folded up and probably had a really bad end of the year. They showed some fight. I got to give them. I know Mariner fans like, yeah, I heard that story before.
Yeah, they struck out more than any other team in the league.
But I give them credit. They fought to the bitter end.
If by fighting you mean swinging at baseballs and not hitting them,
but now
they definitely did that.
I expect every Pacific Northwesterner to, now the Mariners are eliminated, to transfer their ownership of fandom over to the Baltimore Orioles and our native son, Adley Rutschman, who also clinched an AL wildcard spot, Justin. So postseason baseball is nearly upon us in the middle of football season.
But I was just going to say, just like the Mariners, though, or any other of the movable pieces of indoor-outdoor stadiums, right? Sometimes roof's closed, sometimes roof's going to be open. But Oregon takes on UCLA tomorrow. They are 25.5-point favorites, depending on, I guess it opened as a 24-point spread. It's popped up to 25. And I wanted to talk about UCLA because UCLA is kind of the forgotten child of the 4 teams that went from the old Pac-12 into the Big Ten. Obviously, USC was the big fish that they needed to reel in, right? USC was their whale, their Captain Ahab's Moby Dick. I don't know. I never really read the book, but I get the gist of it. And so They brought in USC, and USC goes to their part-time rival, part-time pal, UCLA, and says, hey, we're going to the Big Ten. You want to come with us? And UCLA's like, yes, boy, more than anything. $75 million a year. Chip Kelly spilled the beans on that a little bit ago. $75 million a year in a new TV deal. We are full share members. Yep, here we go. And UCLA felt like they were not exactly on easy street, but they're like, oh, we're out of the Pac-12. Nice, fun new conference. New lease on life. Well, since that time for UCLA, Oregon and Washington joined the party, and it got to be a little bit of a crowded car, didn't it? It was like, hey, USC and UCLA, we're going on a Big Ten road trip. And halfway down I-5, the Big Ten says, hey, you guys pick up Oregon and Washington on the way? Like, oh, thought we were going by ourselves. Okay, fine. We'll pick up Oregon and Washington along the way. And then, after a somewhat disappointing season and a coaching carousel and, in a transfer portal and all this moving pieces, UCLA loses Dante Moore, who was supposed to be their future quarterback in waiting. And then in February, they lose Chip Kelly. So, think about the calendar year that UCLA football has had. And maybe extend it a little bit more into the last summer when Oregon and Washington, they were on the way to the Big Ten, making money hand over fist, leaving the Pac-12 behind. Good luck, suckers. And then, Oregon and Washington are going to come along. Oh, man. And Oregon still got all that NIL money. And then Oregon's going to steal our quarterback. And then our current coach, who we kind of like, but not quite sure if we like, but he used to be the coach at Oregon. He's going to leave us in February. The worst possible time ever for a coach to leave ever. And by the way, how does Chip Kelly get a pass for this? I will say, other than the 4 years he had in an amazing, reaching the stars run at Oregon, I think Chip Kelly's greatest skill as a head coach, other than, whole revolutionizing offensive football in college, because if you take a look, even the most diehard, other than, Jim Harbaugh coach teams, even the most diehard smash mouth, they still all run stuff out of shotgun, no huddle, signs on the sideline. That was a lot of Chip Kelly. A lot of Rich Rodriguez, a lot of Urban Meyer, but a lot of Chip Kelly. Other than that, his greatest skill is somehow, some way, when he does stuff a little slimy, he really gets a pass. Let me give you a couple of examples. Year 3 at Oregon. Year 3. After winning the Pac-10 conference 2009 and then taking Oregon to the national title game. And then in 2011, winning the conference and winning the Rose Bowl. Chip Kelly, after that season, accepted a job with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That happened. He accepted a job with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then had a midnight change of heart. Now, how much of that was a, hey, Chip, you got to talk to Phil before you leave? And from what I understand is that one of the precursors where he wanted to make sure that all of the assistants and everybody in the coaching staff at Oregon was going to stay the same. And Oregon and Phil Knight came in and said, yeah, we can't guarantee that. Whoever the next coach is going to be, it's going to be their staff. And then had a midnight change of heart. Came back 4th year as head coach. Figuring, okay, I flirted with the NFL, slept on it, couldn't even get to sleep, made my decision. I'm coming back. All right, great. Oregon then in 2012 has an unbelievable season. Zach Ertz was out, should have been playing for the national title game, neither here nor there. And then they beat Kansas State in the Fiesta Bowl. And once again, you start hearing rumblings. Oh, boy, here come the Cleveland Browns. And Chip Kelly interviews with the Cleveland Browns and decides once again to turn it down and comes back to Oregon. So much so, tweeting at Matt Kearney, who wrote a song saying, Chip, stay, saying, hey, your song worked. I'm coming back. out of nowhere, Philadelphia Eagles fire Doug Peterson and
That was Andy Reid.
Or Andy Reid, excuse me.
And say that again so everyone can hear. They did what to Andy
They
Reid?
fired Andy Reid
again.
kind of out of nowhere. And then Chip Kelly then, after he said, I'm coming back, and I'm coming back again, I'm not leaving. Oh, he would leave. And did Oregon fans hold a grudge against him? No, they didn't. Then he would go to the Philadelphia Eagles and have a pretty good first season, but would then run off Shady McCoy and Deshaun Jackson. Whoops. How does that happen? Then wanted to take over personnel decisions because, from what I understand, there were rumblings that especially on the offensive side, a lot of the veteran NFL players were not happy about the up-tempo. Like, dude, I'm a right tackle in my 8th year in the league. I make $9 million a year. No, I'm not running to the line of scrimmage.
I remember that well.
Yeah. So,
and they were grown men who made more than you did.
This is the thing. So then Chip Kelly says, all right, I need personnel decision. And so they do, and that's when Shady McCoy gets bounced. That's when Deshaun Jackson gets bounced. Boy, those two guys still very upset at Chip Kelly. But somehow, some way, like Brendan, NFL coach runs off Shady McCoy and Deshaun Jackson, who I believe both are now in the Philadelphia, or talk about maybe being in the Philadelphia Ring of Honor. He ran them off. Somehow, some way, still skated an awful lot of criticism. Goes again to the San Francisco 49ers. Goes 2-14.
Hey, he had some issues, okay?
2-14.
Who was his quarterback?
A quarterback who was in the Super Bowl not that long before.
But he had some stuff going on, Justin.
I'm just saying, 2-14. Did anybody blame it? No. That's 49ers' problem. Then he goes.
Personnel problem.
Then he goes to UCLA.
Saying.
And he goes to UCLA and is good, not great. Never really got them anywhere close to a conference championship. The magic of 2009 through 2012 was gone. And still leaves a university high and dry in February when after your quarterback is transferred, you didn't bring in a quarterback because, well, you're not going to be there for long because you were interviewing with both NFL and with college football programs to be a coordinator because you didn't like the NIL stuff anyways. And so through this entire time in February, when the coaching carousel has round and stopped, you decide you were going to Ohio State to take the job as offensive coordinator. And UCLA is like, could you maybe have done this in December when maybe we would have had a chance? And does Chip Kelly take criticism? No. It's amazing. It's an amazing skill he has. Because it's not like he's the nicest guy either. I've met him a handful of times. He's cordial with me. But he wasn't exactly, he wasn't like Mike Riley, hip, hip, hooray, He was a little salty, he's from the Northeast. It's like, I've met nice people from the Northeast. He was prickly.
You have?
Oh, yeah. Met so many people from the Northeast who are incredible.
East Coast is pretty aggressive in my experience.
Incredibly nice. It was such an excuse we gave. Like, oh, well, he's from the Northeast. Like, no. There's nice people from everywhere. He's prickly. And now we sit here in UCLA is 1-2, and they are almost 3 touchdown underdogs to the Ducks with a 42-13 loss to Indiana sitting on their schedule. Whew. There we go. There's your game preview. All right, we're going to talk some Blazers. We've got Sean Hyken joining the show. But before we do that, I do want to let you know, later on this afternoon, Haven, Spa, Pool, and Hearth in Clackamas. From 3 to 6, Chad and Dwight are going to be broadcasting live, and they need your help to fill the Viking Spa with new and gently used sports balls for the Boys and Girls Club of the Portland metro area. Haven, Spa, Pool, and Hearth in Clackamas today from 3 to 6. All the details at ripcityradio.com. Sean Hyken joins the show next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, on Monday night, right after Monday Night Football, I, like many of you, didn't change the channel and was kind of getting some other stuff done, and K2 popped up, and I'm like, that's a lot of Blazer stuff going on, and then it clicked in my brain because sometimes it takes me a little bit of a minute to go like, oh, this is the TV thing. And then right about 8:30 at night on Monday night, we learned that the Blazers, kind of as expected, we're going to go to an over-the-air broadcast, and that Sinclair and K2 were going to be their new broadcasting partners. And then a ton of information got dumped on Monday night and then Tuesday morning. We've had now some days to sift it out. Joining us to help continue to sift it out and to also look ahead to a season that Media Day starts on Monday, and camp is right around the corner. Our good friend from the Rose Garden Report, Sean Hyken, back on the big show. Good morning, Sean. How we doing?
Doing all right, Justin. How about you?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling much more informed today than I maybe was Tuesday morning. It felt like a bit of a scramble. But I think just in terms of the whole Blazer broadcast, I know that Dwayne Hankins was on with Rip City Drive the other day. I thought the best news out of all of this is whether you're YouTube TV, which I want to get into in a little bit, Direct TV, still old school cable, any of those things where we're not quite sure where the Blazer games are going to pop up. If you live in the Portland metro area and you go and for $20 get yourself an antenna while they're trying to sift all that stuff out, you'll still be able to watch the games, which feels like a huge win for local fans, because in the past, while they were sifting things out, those games were not available to people that didn't have those particular outlets.
Well, you might. I'll do you one better. You might not even have to pay $20 for an antenna, because the one thing that Dwayne said on that Rip City Drive interview the other day is that they are at some point. They haven't hammered out the details of it yet, but at some point between now and the start of the season, they're looking at kind of doing some sort of push/drive to set up some sort of way that fans that don't have an antenna can sign up, and the team will send you a free antenna in some form or fashion. So it's like you don't even have, you might not even have to pay the $20 to buy an antenna. So that takes it even further. But yeah, I mean, this is just great news for everybody. Like, you go from last year, or the last few years. So after they went from NBC Sports to Root in 2021, suddenly anybody that had YouTube TV or Hulu or Sling or any of these other non-cable streaming TV live things just suddenly couldn't get Blazer games anymore. And then it got even worse a year ago when Comcast suddenly, which is the main cable provider in Portland and in the area that actually does carry Root Sports, which is what I had and what I was watching the channel on for years. Suddenly, like a week before the season started or something, moved their entire moved Roots was entirely just available on their highest channel package. And so suddenly, even if you already had cable and did that to watch games, you couldn't watch games unless you paid more money for the higher package to watch. So you go from that, and it was something like that every year. And then, as somebody who did have cable and was watching the games on cable and just was watching games on Root, picture quality was terrible. There was always sound glitches. Half the time it would get bumped to Root Sports Plus, which I had to figure out what channel it was because they were running like reruns of a Kraken studio show or something like that. It was just not a good situation. And so to go from that to anybody with a TV antenna can watch it for free, and if you want to watch it on other devices, there's a streaming package you can buy too. Like that's just a huge win across the board for everybody.
Well, and the other thing, I've mentioned it a couple of times, there's going to be a bit of a learning curve. The good news is the learning curve, I don't think is going to come with an awful lot of catches. It's just going to be kind of adapting to what was old technology and is now kind of new again technology with regard to the antenna. And I know this from football tailgates, but the antennas, that we think of from back in, our parents' living room. And I don't know how old you are, Sean, but I'm old enough to remember what the old rabbit ears looked like. And when some people at times you had to put the tinfoil on it, and sometimes you had to get your brother to kind of hold it and touch it and don't move because we got it right there. This is not what we're talking about now. It's HD, it's 4K, it's incredible. It's an incredible picture, and it's a fairly, whether you get one free from the Blazers, but it's a fairly inexpensive device, and kind of the new antenna of broadcasting is not exactly what it was. So I think there's going to be an interesting learning curve, but ultimately going to be a good one, because these are not the old school rabbit ear antennas that I think a lot of people maybe are thinking of.
Oh, I grew up in a rabbit ears household too.
Yeah.
Like my parents didn't have cable until I started covering the NBA professionally, and I told them, look. I told them, my parent, it was just one of those, not to throw my parents under the bus, but it was just, they were one of those, people that were like, TV is bad for kids. We're just not going to have cable. Like that was their thing. So I was only ever growing up watching like Arthur and stuff on PBS. So like I completely whenever anybody talks about like 90s like Nickelodeon cartoons, that's just like a whole category of like pop culture references from people my age that I just completely miss. But that's another conversation. But when I first started covering the NBA as my job about 10 or 12 years ago, I basically said to my parents, look, you guys have to get a TV that was made this century, and you have to get cable, and you have to get League Pass, or else there's like 9 months of the year where I can't come visit you. And so then they finally did it. So I'm fully aware of the rabbit ears situation, and I actually have a more current digital antenna. I actually just bought it the other day just because I didn't know yet whether I have YouTube TV now. I didn't know whether everything was going to show up on there right away. I know they're still working on getting some stuff expanded, but I got one of the new like digital antennas for like $15 or something, and it is like it is not rabbit ears. I'll tell you that. It like hooks in with a USB now and a coaxial, but it's like this very. It's kind of sleek. It's literally like, it looks like a black like sheet of paper. That's how thin it is, and you can just like tuck it away wherever. But it's a totally different thing. But yeah, I wonder how many people that in my age and younger are even remember having a TV antenna. So it's gonna be interesting to see, like, are all my friends suddenly gonna be like, oh yeah, I just got an antenna for my TV, or like it's gonna be interesting.
Sean Highkin from the Rose Garden Report joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio, and you tweeted it out, and again, I'm like you. The moment it was announced that the Blazers were leaving Root, I made a phone call the next day. A very nice person on the other end of the line at Comcast looked at my bill and was like, "Yep, I get it." And I cut the cord that day and went to YouTube TV. Never looked back. But there was, I think, some people wondering, because I think a lot of people went to YouTube TV. I did it, obviously, for the Sunday Ticket, and it's just a much better product. Whether is there going to be the alternate channels from Sinclair? Because obviously, look, K2's got The Bachelor, they got Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. They can't have the Blazers on every single night. Something else has got to pay the bills as well. So those alternate channels, and it sounds like if you do have YouTube TV, you will likely be able to get the Blazers on that. Is that what I understand?
I think so. I looked, and the alternate K2 channel is called Charge, which basically just shows like infomercials and Law and Order reruns and stuff like that. Like it's just like one of those channels that's like there, and nobody does anything with it. And it is on the YouTube TV channel guide, so it exists. And I don't know whether there's like a national and local version of that. I can't imagine that there is, but as far as I understand it, that channel is on YouTube TV right now. And then the other thing is that on January 1st, the over-the-air channel that's currently Univision, which is also owned by Sinclair, that's going to stop being Univision on January 1st, and it's going to become a full-time Blazers station of some sort that's over the air that has their games, and then also just kind of runs like when the Blazers can just put whatever they want on there whenever they want. That's how I understand it. So it's going to be pretty accessible no matter what you have.
I think they were talking about 4 times the amount of availability or coverage. And Sean, when you look back, not just the last couple, because I was there at NBC Sports Northwest, and I understood the DirecTV issue that was going on, and obviously, and I grew up in Southern Oregon where we had charter cable, not Comcast cable. So if you lived in Southern Oregon, you couldn't get the Blazers there either. And This has been a decades-long thing with the Blazers and their fan base in trying to find and appease the entire state and the entire kind of Rip City footprint. And it feels like for the first time in a couple of decades they kind of got it. And I can understand why there's some Blazer fans going, all right, what's the catch? Because Blazer fans have been sold a bill of goods that came with a catch. Like, it's going to be on Root now. It's going to be better, but you're going to have to pay more. And I can understand why there's some fans, and you've been online, I know, on social media answering a lot of questions because it feels like a lot of Blazer fans are coming with the what's the catch. I've tried to find it, and I'm not here to carry the water for the Blazers organization. And Sean, I don't know if I can find the catch. I think they finally got out in front of it and gave the fans the best case scenario for broadcasting.
I'm not carrying water for anybody either. I've been very, and I've written about it many times over the last couple of years. I've tweeted about it. I've talked about it on different shows. The Root deal was a disaster. I understand why they signed it at the time because the options were that and Comcast that was clearly trying to get out of the RSN business, and so the money was there are other people that know the exact particulars of the financials better than I did, but you understood why they signed that deal at the time. And the other thing is that the direct to consumer stuff, what they're doing now, and the over the air stuff, the NBA, the league office was not really in a place yet where they wanted teams to do that because they were still chasing the RSN rights fees, because that goes into the league's pot of basketball related income that goes into the salary cap and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, this is just literally, if you have a TV antenna, you can watch the Blazer for free. That's the whole thing. It's that's the entire sell, and then they have the streaming package. I'm really interested to see what that actually looks like and what the interface is. But I did the math, and they have one national game a year. So let's say they have 81 games on the Blazer Vision streaming service. $120 for the season. That comes out to about $1.50 a game. And you get a pair of tickets to an upper bowl, to a home game. So it's pretty hard to poke holes in. I believe me, when I'm writing about this stuff, and I want to make sure I have all the accurate information. I never want, whether it's about this or about some basketball move or about some front office thing or whatever. I never want to, when I'm writing something, I never want to feel like I'm just rewording the team's press release and not really asking any questions about what's going on, or the arena lease thing from February. I always try to make sure, okay, what are people going to come back at with this? What are people going to say? Oh, well, what's the problem with this? Or this is pretty straightforward. You can pay a very reasonable price for a streaming platform version, or you can buy it or get for free, by the way, a TV antenna and just watch it for free. That's the whole deal.
Sean, I'll echo your sentiments about the Root Sports deal being a disaster. Some of us lost a TV show. I'm just saying. The Bridge was a good show. That's all I'm saying. Sean, I
used to go on Outsiders sometimes. So yeah, I hear you on that one.
The best is, I think my audience, and by the way, they're very hardworking people on the Bridge, and they made me look much better than I should have on TV. But I think my target audience was late night bar patrons that the bartender forgot to turn it off of the Blazer game, and then they would see a rerun of me, and then I would get interesting late night text messages of myself on at the bar. So you got to know your audience. Sean Highkin from the Rose Garden Report joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we've got Media Days coming up on Monday, Sean. Training camp right around the corner for the Blazers. I know some fans, even some goofball morning show hosts, thought that maybe there would be some continued movement with this roster after drafting Klingon and knowing that there was a bit of a logjam at center, that maybe there would be some more moves for the Blazers this summer. It hasn't really happened. It's been a very quiet offseason, I would say, other than the broadcasting part of it for the Blazers. Do you expect there to be a lot of movement? Do you expect there to be medium amount of movement? Or is this the Blazers have their roster going into the season with what they got and just kind of see how the rest of the chips fall with the rest of the NBA in terms of kind of rounding out this roster?
This is going to be what their roster is on opening night. I'm pretty sure. Maybe at the, you know, I say I'm pretty sure only because you can't 100% rule anything out, but I don't think they are. I would not expect there to be any, you know, major moves made. You know, to the guys that everybody's talking about as far as like Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, you know, Robert Williams, the guys that have kind of been floated around in trade stuff. I don't think they ever this whole summer felt like the offers they were getting for any of those guys were commensurate with what they thought the value of those guys should be. And I think they felt like, okay, this, you know, we'll go into the season. We're not going to be very good no matter who is or isn't playing. Because like the thing I think people forget is, you know, I hear all this stuff about like, oh, if they keep these guys, they might win too many games accidentally and not be able to get Cooper Flag. They won 21 games with all these guys on the roster last year. Like they're going to be okay on that in that department. So it's gonna be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Now, as I think if Robert Williams comes back and is healthy for the first part of the year, I think that's gonna juice his trade value a little bit, and that would be somebody that clearly, since they just drafted a center, is somebody that I think would make a lot of sense to move if they can get the right value for him. But in order to get the right value for him, he has to kind of prove he can stay healthy. So I think any of that stuff as far as trades and you know, guys being moved out and, you know, big changes being made to the roster, I think that if that happens, it's going to be closer to the deadline than it is anytime soon.
Sean Eichen from the Rose Garden Report joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. One last thing before we let you go and get you ready to enjoy the weekend. I know it was raining, but how was Green Day? I saw on Instagram you were out at Green Day. How was Green Day? Were they awesome?
They were great. I saw them the last time I saw them. The first time and the last time I saw them was I was a freshman in high school, and it was the original American Idiot tour.
Okay.
So it's been literally 20 years since I saw them, and they were just as good, if not better, than the first time I saw them. Like, they sounded great. The show was great. You know what? You know, it's just and I kind of said this the same way. I don't know if you went to Pearl Jam in May at Moda. I went to Pearl Jam, and that was the first time I saw them. And in both cases, I was just like, this is a professional arena rock band that like knows how to play their stuff, sounds good live, like has everything dialed in. Like, yeah, like it was great. Like it was awesome. They played mostly, you know, they threw in a couple of new songs, but like they played Dookie, they played American Idiot, they played all their other big. It was what I wanted it to be.
I would have been right there along with you, but you know what? They could have just started at like 5:00. You know, morning show doesn't really late night on a school night in the rain at Providence. Could have done with one of those variables, not all of them. And you know, as I get now, I'm in my mid-40s, and some of these bands that like you talk about with Pearl Jam and Green Day, you know. We all want them to start at 5:00. They want to start at 5:00. You know, we could do it. You know what I mean?
Like pit tickets, and yeah. I'm a little bit younger than you are, so it's just like yeah, I wouldn't be mad at earlier start times. They also had 3 opening acts, and they started, and the show itself started at 4:30. So you know, it's above my pay grade to schedule the logistics of these things, but I definitely hear you on that one.
There we go. You can follow him on Twitter or X at Hyken. There's a GH in there. You need to be subscribed to the Rose Garden Report, rosegardenreport.com, and you can hear from time to time on this show and this station. Hey, Sean, thanks so much for your time. Great stuff. Have a great weekend. We'll look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah, you too, Justin.
There we go. Sean Hyken, Rose Garden Report. Coming up, we have got the RCM mailbag. But before we get to the mailbag, I want to let you know what's going on at Haven Spa Pool and Hearth. You probably heard us talking about it all throughout the week, all throughout the month, because it's a very big deal for a very good cause. Chad and Dwight are going to be broadcasting from Haven Spa Pool and Hearth in Clackamas from 3 to 6 later on today. And they need your help to fill the Viking Spa. New and gently used sports balls for the Boys and Girls Club of the Portland metro area. Basketballs, footballs, soccer balls, baseballs, whatever you have whether they are new, whether they are gently used. The Boys and Girls Club could use them and help fill the Viking Spa. That's in Clackamas, Haven Spa Pool and Hearth, 3 to 6 later on today. All the details at ripcityradio.com. RCM mailbag next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, huge thank you to Sean Hyken from the Rose Garden Report. A lot of good information there, especially as a YouTube TV guy. So
Me too. Very good information.
Think the Blazers are going to be on YouTube TV, but like I said, here's the best part. If they're in negotiations, if it might be in the future, you just get an antenna, plug it in, get to watch the games. That's the best part. When Root Sports was like, oh, is it on 1200? Is it on regular Root Sports or the Kraken? I was like, there was no second option. Like, oh, I'd like to stream it. Tough. Can't stream it. They don't have a streaming service. So now you got streaming, you got antennas, you got all sorts of options. And I think finally, for the first time, the Blazers have met the needs of the fan base. Now, got to rebuild this team, which we're going to have a whole basketball season to talk about that. We got football coming up. Huskies and Rutgers. Brendan's favorite place, Piscataway, New Jersey.
Actually, no, I've learned it's Steve Tannen's favorite place.
Well, that's the place everybody likes to bring up with the Big Ten. Like
Steve Tannen loves Piscataway.
Like
New
nobody
Jersey,
says
man.
like, oh, imagine going to West Lafayette. Everybody just says Piscat. That's the way everybody likes to talk about. But the Huskies are there. They play tonight at 5:00, Friday night late game. Yep, you're right. But the Pac-12, we couldn't keep that conference. Anyways, let's get to more positive news, which is the RCM mailbag. Here we go.
Well, Justin, we teased it earlier, and I couldn't let you down. So we got to talk rom-coms. It's just where we got to go with the mailbag today.
Okay.
So you said Sweet Home Alabama.
Sweet Home Alabama is the best rom-com of all time. It is. It's the best rom-com of all time. Reese Witherspoon is America's sweetheart. She is dynamite in that movie. It is touching. It is funny. It is comic. It's the best. It's the best of all the rom-coms.
Okay.
I die on this hill.
I'm like, can I finish the question?
Oh, sorry. I thought you wanted me to go off about how much I love Sweet Home Alabama.
No,
That's
I was just
what
going
I
to
was
say,
picking up.
I respect and love the take, but let's throw out some contenders. That's
okay.
That's the fun. Is let's
contenders. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Great one.
Is definitely a contender. Sleepless in Seattle is a contender.
We'll throw out The Wedding Planner.
Is that J-Lo?
J-Lo and Matthew.
And McConaughey.
Yep. I'll throw that one out there. Let's keep going because there are some good rom-coms. I
like when you start giggling before you even
I know,
get to...
okay, on the surface, I think we're bending the rules a little bit, but isn't the movie like The 40-Year-Old Virgin a rom-com?
No, not a
technically?
rom-com. No, too much com, not enough rom. But
the whole point is about what the title says.
I understand. I don't know if I would put that in. That's more of a raunchy comedy.
Okay.
I don't know if I would put that in the category of rom-com.
Okay,
and again, do I have parameters? No. It's kind of how I feel.
Okay, fair.
It goes by feel for me.
I'll throw in. Okay, so where are you on The Wedding Singer?
Wedding Singer, good rom-com.
Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good rom-com.
Okay.
See now that there's one 10 Things I Hate About You. I love 10 Things I Hate About You. That's more high school movie than rom-com. While there is comedy and ultimately the two crazy kids get together at the end, I think that's more high school comedy than rom-com.
Yeah, another one of my good. There's a couple of my twisted favorites that I'll throw up there. It's easily a terrible movie that nobody likes, but I'm gonna throw it out there. Love me some Fool's Gold with Matthew.
Fool's Gold, sneaky good.
Oh, people hate it, Justin.
They
I have
hate
no
it?
idea. Oh,
By people, do you mean people in your household?
No, my household. I'm talking just like.
Who hates Fool's Gold?
Well, you go look at the reviews. They're not particularly nice. But no, I love that movie. Kevin Hart in that movie too. I'm a big Forgetting Sarah Marshall guy with Jason Segel when they're in Hawaii. That's kind
Breeding
of
Sarah Marshall's very good.
I like that movie.
That's bordering though on too much comedy.
See, Justin's got his line, man. He's like,
but I don't know. Again, like I said, it's all feel to me.
You're like
though.
the Supreme Court. You're like, I know when I see
exactly. I know rom-com when I
love it. But yeah, I'll give you that. It's borderline on too much
do you
comedy.
count Bridesmaids as a rom-com?
Oh yeah, that's probably
Bridesmaids is
or is it too much comedy?
That's
Because
what
Bridesmaids
I'm saying.
is a hilarious film. Absolutely, I mean, so many funny.
I might be getting too strict. I might be going more NFL Hall of Fame and less Basketball Hall of Fame, and probably should let more.
Where are you
more
on like the
rom-coms in.
classics, Justin? Like When Harry Met
When
Sally,
Harry Met Sally is it had.
Groundhog Day, stuff like that. That's
When
some of
Harry Met Sally pretty much invented the format. My Best Friend's Wedding, also very good.
Good pull.
Very good rom-com. Yeah.
It's a good list we put together, though. I'm proud
I'm
of
looking
this.
at Rotten
I'm proud
Tomatoes
of this question.
top ones, and they're not good.
Just they're not good.
Like they've got Big, which I love the movie Big. Big was a very big movie when I was growing up. Don't look back with 2024 eyes because there's some parts of it where you go like, don't know if that would fly today. But say I don't know if that's a rom-com.
Does Bull Durham count?
This is a very good question. This is a very, very good because Bull Durham is one of my favorite baseball movies, and the baseball is so good, but
I think I gotta give it to you, Justin.
it feels more rom-com-y than baseball-y.
It does.
But it's borderline. It's back and forth. I love it so much, though. That's why my dog's name's Crash. I love it. It's my favorite. But yeah, Sweet Home Alabama still holds a championship belt. Still haven't seen a better one. All right, that's going to do it for the big show. Thanks to Sean Hyken. Thanks to super producer Brendan. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Friday. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you Monday morning, 620 Rip City Radio.